Recording Soul 5. Things are interesting right now. Things are definitely interesting. I don't presume that the entirety of these soul logs will be self-reflective and discussing myself. Obviously some of them will be what some of my outward thinking ideas and maybe ideologies are, but for now they're very introspective and reflectionary and reflective. Reflective is probably a better word there. But I would say currently I'm in a process of something, and I'll start by I'll take a few steps back. Over the last, say, 3 months, or maybe 5 months. 5 months ago, I was in a very self-destructive state. I was in a state of essentially trying to make myself sick. I was trying to make myself sick in the sense of whatever my mental health situation. I was trying to make something happen to get out of the situation that I was in life, or to escape where I was currently. So I was doing a lot of things that were very harmful for me and could compromise me very significantly. So I was in this revolving process of smoking weed, which the effects of marijuana on psychosis are very dangerous. So smoking weed, not doing all the best things for my health, not focusing on sleep and stability in sleep. So I wasn't doing some of the things to keep me in a process of being healthy. I was in a very destructive state, and it was kind of like I built this momentum doing that, and it built up steam that I was able to then come to a point that I got to a better spot. I got to a different place in my life. This was a little later down the road, maybe a couple months, 3 months later, that I was able to stop all of the negative things I was doing. But now I'm in a different kind of revolving state. I would say there are some similarities to that state of what I was doing, but in a different sense. In a sense that was a very destructive state that I was, and a very destructive thing that I was doing. I am now in a positive thing that I am doing, which is creating content, which is talking about some of these experiences and moving forward in the world in a way that could provide me a path to a new career that is filled with purpose and meaning and joy in what I'm actually doing, and something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm doing that, but there's an element of it currently that is self-destructive as well, which is it is mixed in the process of positive things and producing, that the hypomania or the mania-like symptoms currently going on can get to a point that end up harming me and breaking me, or ending me up in a very negative situation potentially. So now I'm kind of going the other way in a sense, and for a long time I was really using that confidence, that charisma, that passion of the hypomania to get over the barrier, to get over some of the fears and anxieties of wanting to come and do this thing that I've had in my heart for a long time, of wanting to come and produce content and talk about some experiences and change and restructure and look at some of the holes in mental health and the way that people deal with their identity and the way that people shape their mentality. So now I'm kind of in this self-destructing sense that it's so obsessive. It can consume me in a sense. And this is what happens when you are in these altered states or these elevated states. You can become compulsive and obsessive, and that's all you think about, that's all you do. It disrupts your sleep, you start sleeping less, that's all you talk about, that's all you want to do. So I'm in that current state. That's the point where I'm currently at, and what is important now is that I don't self-destruct completely with what's going on. So similarly to how I was trying to self-destruct to get out of my past situation, I was able to pivot into something positive and not completely destroy myself. In the same sense, in a positive moving thing, I need to pump the brakes a bit and look at the holes in my life or things that could negatively harm me that are happening currently, so that I don't self-destruct on the opposite end of that train or that cycle. So that's currently what's going on, my situation. And I find in times like this, it's really hard to want to stop it, because as someone who's a quiet person, as someone who isn't much of an extrovert, to then become very extroverted and have confidence and be confident and less anxiety and maybe more humor, more passion in speaking or around people or in groups, to want to stop some of those things or stop some of the positive attributes that may come with elevated states. It's hard, and at the same time, but it's important. Overall, it's important. It is important to not completely self-destruct and end up in some sort of psychosis and hospitalized and be then dealing with the process of recovering from that, the long, dreadful process that is. So that's kind of some of the things that are going on that I'm working with right now. But in regards to today we had my family Christmas, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. Always good to see all the family get together and spend that time. So I'm grateful for that, and that was great to see everyone. But after, back at my house with some of my family members, we were sitting and we were discussing old stories. We were discussing stories of the past, and came up in conversation a lot of my prior mental health situations, lots and lots of stories. There are countless stories, so the stories are endless, and we were discussing some of them at length, and they're very entertaining. They were very fascinating. They're very funny stories, and I think it's very good to be able to make fun of yourself, or to be able to look at the past and laugh, and look at some past embarrassing or traumatic experiences of your life and be able to laugh at them. I think that's a very positive thing and a very positive mindset and outlook to some of the past. But we were discussing a lot of these stories, and not only does it make other people more comfortable with stories of myself to be able to share their opinions and share their views, if I'm able to accept it and not be offended or not be shy about it or cringe at some of the stories. So if I'm open to this, it allows breathing room for those around me to have more breathing room about the topics, about the conversations. And not only does it allow that for talking about some of my past, I think it allows that for some people for their own stories as well. When you can have someone that is so open and vulnerable to the past but doesn't shy away from it, it almost allows them to see that their past or their traumas or their experiences isn't something to hide from. And it doesn't have to constantly be this prickling point in your mind, in your soul, that every time a thought about the experience comes up or a memory about the experience comes up, that you are emotionally charged with something. So I think that's going to be important for me as I carry on in doing this content, is that the more open I am, the more vulnerable I am in telling stories and what I see and some of the lived experiences, it will allow others breathing room to be more comfortable with their own stories, is the hope. But in so today, talking about some of these past stories, it was very, very strange, because I hadn't thought about a lot of these stories in a long, long time. I hadn't thought about them. It hadn't came up at times. And whether that was because I have completely detached from the past, or is it because in some of those times it wasn't the truest representation of me. I don't know what it was, but it was a very dissociating feeling that we were talking about things I did and talking about these experiences that weren't all too long ago, within 5 years of them happening, 7 years. But it felt like such a distant past. It felt like it was actions and stories of someone outside of me when we were talking about them and discussing them. And I think in a sense that's what allows me to kind of be more open to them and not hate myself or look at them in such a negative light, because it's someone else. It's a past version of me. And I think that's why I can kind of talk about them more openly. But it was weird, because in talking about them and sharing them, it was kind of, you almost live the experiences again in some sense, but you don't want to be fully emotionally dragged into the experience that it has an emotional effect to you. And that's the core balance and the core thing that I'm grappling with, is that in telling the stories, in reliving moments, it's that I don't get dragged in emotionally and emotionally charged to them, because then it will destroy and dilute the message or the narrative or the purpose of what the mission is. But it was very, very interesting. It was cool. It was nice to talk openly and, I guess, relive some of those moments and think about some of those moments. And in doing this and my Be My Guest show, over time more and more of those will come out. The more I talk about different things, naturally other things will come up as well. So it'll be exciting, it'll be fun, and I look forward to it. But right now my core focus is getting sleep dialed in at all costs, sleeping, doing whatever I have to not continue the snowball that is kind of rolling down the mountain currently, not allowing that to turn into an avalanche and destroy me. So although the snowball is rolling, things are building, it's trying to be aware of that, be conscious that is happening, that things are happening. Some of the feelings, emotions, thoughts are leaning and really pushing forward in a direction, but to try to really pause, take a step back, and kind of reflect on some of the things that are going on and be able to express those things to those around me who can then help me in making sure that my health is stable and I don't self-destruct in its entirety and end up breaking my mind again, losing my mind, and shattering my psyche into a million pieces. Because although the complete disillusion and complete shattering of one's psyche and shattering of the ego and reaching rock bottom, the pits of rock bottom, is, I think, is a good thing in a sense. You don't want to continuously rush towards that and do it over and over. I think you if it happens, it happens. Don't fear something like that happening. It's part of life. Things happen in life, but if things happen like that, it's then you build from that, but it's avoiding forcefully destroying yourself is what I'm avoiding here now. So that's kind of the process, and what are some of the things that you can do to, I guess, help in a process of feeling elevated or feeling like your life is snowballing in a direction that is negative and self-destructive, is tell those around you that those are some of the things going on. Share with your psychiatrist if you have one. Remove yourself from maybe spending so much time online. Remove yourself from the things that are reinforcing some of those obsessive thoughts. Take medication if needed to help sleep or help stabilize or help ground yourself. Some sort of grounding practice. Get out, go for walks, get in nature. Try to slow down, breathe, take some deep breaths, take some moments. And all of this, when I'm saying this, in saying this, it's kind of like I'm telling myself this. I'm speaking to myself in a sense, and in speaking to myself, I will be speaking to others as well. But I'll go and rewatch this tomorrow, and the message will then seep further into me. So it's kind of a cool aspect in a sense. But yeah, I think that's what's important right now, and that is the journey. That is part of the journey. Things go in ebbs and flows. Things go up, things go down, but to be aware of it, so the ups don't cause a huge crash or a huge avalanche on the village at the bottom of the mountain, is what we avoid. So with that being said, that will be the soul log, and I will end it by saying, judge me for the man that stands before you today, not for the man that I was yesterday, is the quote.